Good evening. I'm Sheriff Jeff Diederich here in Williamson County. On September 18th, on Monday, or Monday coming up, the Safety Act will take effect, which will require the release of those held in pretrial custody who do not meet the new pretrial detention requirements. Beginning Monday, those who commit criminal offenses who were previously jailed are now being released unless they meet one of the following conditions: a specific threat to a person or community, a persistent criminal activity after being cited, or an obvious medical or mental health issue that poses a risk to their own safety. These conditions for pretrial detention under the new system beginning Monday are very high-level requirements in order to meet that burden in court. With that in mind, in compliance with state law, I have just released approximately 30 people from the custody of the Williamson County Jail. And to say that I'm not happy is an understatement. This is a requirement under state statute that was thrust upon us. I believe that the citizens of Southern Illinois are completely opposed to this, but the law is the law. We will comply. I would remind everyone that most of the individuals that just were released have committed felony offenses. Many are convicted felons, and in most cases, for each person being released, there is a corresponding victim. I want to reassure the residents of Williamson County that the men and women of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office are committed and will continue to serve and protect each and every citizen. Regardless of what is occurring here today, Williamson County will hold those that commit criminal activity accountable within the confines of the law, and our community and its visitors deserve nothing less. I want to thank you, and I'm going to take any questions you might have.
So why now? Why not wait till Monday to release them?
Well, that's a difficult choice, and the problem is unfortunately I have to report that this is phase one. There is at least one more phase, possibly two, that'll be equal in size, and to be able to physically do all of that at one time is a burden. The requirement under the new statute is that we comply with the law, and that means Sunday, as we move from midnight to 12:01 a.m., which is technically Monday morning, we have to be in compliance. So we have to do this in phases to be able to handle the workload within the jail and to be able to safely take the new steps that are required under the state statute.
Obviously they're just released out the front door. Where are these people going?
Fabulous question. They're returning to the community in which we picked them up. Unfortunately, as you observed, not one person was concerned about where, how. Many are working around on the streets day, night. Many of them we picked up in the middle of the night from the streets. Most of them had cell phones, so they have the ability to arrange transportation, and steps were taken to be able to mitigate any problems for anybody, but most were committed to just walk out the door and then take care of it themselves.
And they all have court dates still?
They do all have court dates. They were issued notice to appear, and they have court dates. They will ultimately be held accountable in a court of law, but the new system is a little bit different, and that system requires that any felony offenses under the new system beginning Monday, individuals that are arrested will be brought to the Williamson County Jail. They will be able to be held up to 48 hours. They will be able to be held under those three conditions that I narrated. If they meet any of those, they can be held longer than that once that's approved through a detention hearing by a judge. As far as misdemeanor offenses, Class A misdemeanors will fall into the same category. We can hold them up to 48 hours, but again, they will have the same conditions. They will have to meet one of those three requirements for us to be able to continue to hold them. With misdemeanors, we do have the discretion to cite and release. With felonies, we do not. I would also like to add one comment. Any violations of orders of protection or in the circumstances of domestic violence arrests, even those both are usually misdemeanors, those are mandatory detainable offenses, and they will be subject and treated just like felonies as individuals are brought into the Williamson County Jail.
Talk a little about your concerns, especially today when you just released 30 inmates onto the streets, and just see your concerns going forward as we approach Monday.
Absolutely. I'm largely concerned. I'm largely concerned because we just released individuals, in many cases, that we deal with repetitively. In many cases, these are convicted felons, not just accused necessarily. Some are. Some of these may be their first offenses. And we've just released them back on the street. No, I'm not happy. This is not why I chose to be sheriff. I chose to be sheriff to protect the community, stand up for the citizens and the visitors of Williamson County to protect persons and property, and this is a step back. I'm not pleased.
Is this something you think you'd ever see happen?
Never. I know that's a short answer, but that sums it up. Never.
Is there a chance it could be repealed by Monday?
No, absolutely not. I think it's exhausted. I can't ever say never. That's for somebody else to determine. What I can tell you is we are empowered to enforce the law. We will adhere to the law, but we will hold people accountable that commit criminal offenses. Ultimately, this does not change the circumstances once somebody gets to a court of law for due process. They can still be charged, they can still be held accountable and convicted in court, they can still be sentenced to jail, prison, probation, and all of the other remedies available under the law. But the concern is that from the time that they're initially arrested, what we used to use was pre-trial detention for circumstances that arose where somebody might pose a threat to the safety of the public or the recidivism of additional criminal activity, and we have lost that discretion largely. Not completely, but it definitely is a different approach.
I have one last question. I talked with the Franklin County Sheriff earlier today, and he said their jail population overall would be down about 70%. Do you have those figures here for Williamson County?
Well, I can tell you that we're probably not far off. I can tell you that 2 days ago we had 163 people in custody, and earlier today we were looking at numbers that could be approaching 80, maybe even as much as 85 that would be released. There is a lot of discretion there initially. There's some discretion in the sense that we can choose to allow individuals that we know that will be eligible to be released, that we have no hope of pretrial detention, to allow the judge and the state's attorney to work through those lists and go ahead and release them and focus more on the higher level offenses that we're concerned with and challenge those and make those individuals actually petition the court rather than just arbitrarily releasing them. But there's a lot of movement in this. This is new for everybody. The state's attorney, the sheriff's office, the jail, the judicial side are all maneuvering to be in compliance. But there's a lot happening here, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time to sort itself completely out.
Is there any other message you want to send out to the community?
Well, this is not a great day for law enforcement and for the public, but what I do want to leave everybody with is that notwithstanding the adherence to this law, which we will adhere to, the citizens of Williamson County will be protected. Their persons, their property, their families, the children, we will be everywhere, and we will be present. So Williamson County is not a place for anybody that wants to commit criminal activity.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Thank you.